And we are back with another video, folks, and one that is kind of an I told you so video. And I know I tend to say this often, but part of this is therapy for me, because over the last 4 years I've been screaming from the top of the mountains that we need to not pay markups, not overpay for cars. And the second the market became so tight on cars and we saw values going up, I began screaming. I began screaming not to buy. You can go back, watch my old videos, and to wait. Drive whatever you're driving until this is over, because this is an artificially inflated market. So during the pandemic, we had a massive run-up in prices because a massive drop in supply. This is elementary school stuff that falls under supply and demand. Well, now we are dealing with the hangover of many years of that, and dealers having record profit years, record profit quarters and months, to the point that they got so addicted to the cash that even when inventory went up, even when used car values went down, even when interest rates went to the ceiling, the dealers could not, and still many of them will not, let go of the ridiculous markups. We got to a place to where we believed that paying MSRP was a great deal. I myself got sucked into that. Now, with that said, I have yet to have been burned on a car. I think the only one that maybe I'm slightly burned on is my beautiful last call 2023 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack Swinger Edition, the special edition sublime green beauty that I'm in right now. That for sure I'm not in good shape financially on this car, but I'm not burned horribly, considering that this car that retailed for $66,815 was marked up to, at some dealers, one in Downey, California, I had a picture of for a while, that it was up to $107, I think it was $117,000. I mean, so I would say that anybody out there who bought one of these special editions when they came out are upside down, myself included, even if you got it at MSRP, because with the decline, you're going to lose money. You're going to be like where I'm at right now. I'm probably a solid, I put some money down, but I'm still probably a solid, if my brain goes to $5,000, that means I'm probably $7,000 to $10,000 upside down in this car. Now, I could buy my way out of it. It's no big deal. Thank goodness I'm blessed to have been able to save a good amount of money to be able to unravel these things if I want to get out of it. But unless I sell it, I'm good, and I'll just keep it for a while, and we'll see what happens. But there are people out there that are so buried and so upside down and have no ability, and those are the people that I worry about, because with this hangover from all the ridiculous pricing and the MSRP being a good deal, and now things being worth so much less, and interest rates driving us into a car recession because nobody can go in and pay 9-10%, and somebody with maybe subprime credit is going to be paying ridiculous double-digit interest rates on their car loans, and the payments would be so prohibitive for them to be able to afford. I'm talking about a $50,000 car being $1,500 a month. That's ridiculous. I have a friend of the family that is sitting on a, I'm not even going to say what car because I don't want them to think I'm talking about them, but I'll tell you, I found out they bought an American SUV and they're paying well over $1,000 a month on that thing, and now they're feeling the pressure on it. And of course, when the thing broke, they were even more upset because they were making a payment on a car that they couldn't drive while that car was getting repaired or figured out whether it was going to be even covered under warranty. And I'm getting so many messages from people on Instagram wanting help on what they can do to get out from underneath their car loan when they're upside down. And the challenge is it's getting worse. They can't pay the loan down fast enough to keep up with the depreciation, so they're in a position where they're stuck. They're royally stuck, or they've got to just make a decision to repo that car, voluntarily repo that car, and then deal with the deficiency, which will be enormous with all the costs and fees, and a total destruction of their credit, which is a challenge. But I saw this article on Fox Business, which I thought I'd share with you all, because I said this was going to happen, and this takes us down to almost an ethical discussion about what the dealers are doing and how they're defending themselves for what they did. But here's what Edmunds' latest used vehicle report found: a growing number of Americans are upside down on their auto loans as used prices decline, and the average amount consumers are underwater is at an all-time high. That means since the beginning of time, since dinosaurs roamed the earth, that today, right now, people are more upside down than they've ever been. The article goes on to say, the report found that the average transaction price for all used vehicles declined to $28,371 in the fourth quarter of 2023, a 4.4% decrease from the same quarter the year before, when the average transaction price sat at $29,690. Doesn't seem like a big deal, but a lot has happened in the first quarter of 2024, despite people getting the tax refunds and the thought that used cars would make a comeback, which there are videos out there saying that they are. But here's the deal. If you bought a car for MSRP in the last year, you're upside down if you took a high loan on it. But if you bought a car anytime in the last 3 years with a markup, you're still buried in that car if you financed any of that markup in, or even if you financed MSRP and we're paying even a lower interest rate, you're still in a tough spot. The article says a storm is brewing in the used market as incentives and inventory continue to trickle back into the new vehicle market. Here's the deal. What that means that we have to deal with is that our used cars, our cars we bought in the last year, 2, 3 years, our used cars will now be crushed by the new car incentives, the new car price reductions. So guess what? We talked about this in another video, that Dodge is dropping their sticker prices, and they're very likely to drop them more and more as we get closer to the launch of the new Daytona EV. And as that happens, that is going to depress our vehicles. So we have to understand that we're probably stuck in these cars for a while. We're not selling these things and getting out of them. And that is going to crush these Dodge dealers, even if any of you are freaking high on something and decide to trade your Hemi in on the new Daytona EV. Can't imagine why anybody would want to do such a stupid thing. But let's say you lost your ever-loving mind and decided to do it. You aren't going to be able to do it without losing your ass on your car. And I'm talking losing your ass if you bought it in the last 3 years. You are screwed. You are not getting out of this thing to buy that car. Let's say you didn't want to buy that EV thing and you want to go buy anything. You're gonna not be able to do it. You're gonna be upside down on your car. Or at the very least, you're gonna have to say goodbye to your down payment completely, because that money has evaporated. And now you got manufacturers going to keep ratcheting up the incentives to the point that there is not going to be any good market, strong market for these cars. As the guys at Aaron Dodge told me when I was on their lot a few weeks ago, go watch that video. It was entertaining, that this car, my Swinger, was trading at auction for $48,000. Now, is it possible they're lying? Well, of course it is. They're a car dealership. It's what they do. They lie for a living, in my opinion. But it doesn't seem far-fetched that this car would trade for about $48,000, considering that they would need to sell it for close to $60,000 and have it sit on their lot for months and months and months and months to be able to get that they would probably net maybe a $4,000 or $5,000 profit on this car. So that makes sense that that's what a dealer would want to pay to mitigate their risk. So that's pretty bloody when you think about this thing going for $66,000. The article goes on to say, with demand for near-new vehicles on the decline, used car values are depreciating similarly to the way they did before the pandemic, and negative equity is rearing its ugly head, he added. Now, here's the deal. I've told you all that cars are going to have to go back to 2020, early 2020 values. When I bought my Red Eye, my 2020 Red Eye, that Red Eye was $83,000 after the power dollars. That's where these prices need to get if the dealerships want to sell them. We're not, because with rates being where they are, that's the only way that happens. So, meaning, if you look back at whatever prices were in 2020, that's where we need to go today to offset the interest rate challenge that we all have to deal with. But that just makes things worse for all of us, all of you, sitting in a car that you overpaid for. The article goes on to say what I said for years. Edmunds analysts found the consumers most vulnerable to falling underwater on their auto loans are those who purchase new vehicles for above sticker price, because those newer trade-ins are seeing the steepest decreases in value. I mean, that's like, no kidding. This guy had to go to college to figure that one out. He's an analyst. We could figure that out pretty easily. If you overpaid, you're screwed. Now, I'm saying all this stuff hoping that you'll continue to listen to me and continue to fight like hell and not buy anything until those prices get down to what they were in 2020. And that's frankly what has to happen. Or interest rates suddenly drop to 3-4% again and make the high prices not a big deal. Let me end with this. The ethics of these dealers. Now, they're telling me, and I've had conversations with GMs behind the scenes and salesmen behind the scenes, that I'll tell us that the margins with the manufacturer now are so bad and so painful that they can't make any money. The cost to have these cars in their lot are so painful that they can't make any money at MSRP. It's really, really rough. Where in the past there was a decent profit margin, now there absolutely isn't. And that makes sense considering that everything in the world is more expensive, that is as well. They're not making as much money on their financing, on their add-ons and everything else, so they have to do these markups. And they're crying the blues saying they just can't survive if they don't. So now they're all trying to make money on the Demon to try to offset that they're going to have to give away the other cars. But here's the deal. The ethics behind it, behind them trying to, quote, survive after making tons and tons of money, fall into question here only because for them to win, for them to, quote, survive, according to them, we all have to get pushed into a horrible position on these cars. We have to get buried in these cars while the entire market is sliding into a giant deep black hole that we're never going to get out of negative equity. So my issue with the dealers is, that's fine, you're just trying to survive, you're just trying to keep people employed, is what I heard the other day. And I get that, and I understand it, and I feel bad. I don't want anybody losing their jobs. But damn, that means that we all have to get screwed, and it just trickles right down to us. And there's so many people that are messaging me now that can't pay their car payments. One gal sent me a message, and it was heartbreaking. She says she bought a new SUV. It was a Hyundai or something like that, but it was brand new, and her payment was killing her. It was choking her. It was putting her in a position that between that and her credit card debt, and I asked her what her credit card debt was, and you ready for this? She said it was $6,000 total. That's it. That's nothing. It's like, I mean, I get it. Proportionately, she thinks it's a lot, but she's in a position in her late 30s that $6,000 is just cratering her financially with that new car payment. But she bought that car, she bought it at too high of a price, and now she's upside down on that car, and she can't get out of it, and she's got the $6,000 in debt. And then I asked her for the punchline, how much do you make a year? She says, look, I gross $44,000. So that means that after everything, after she pays her Social Security, her state taxes, and everything else, and federal taxes out of her paycheck, she's netting $1,200 or $1,500 if she's lucky every 2 weeks. That's not enough. And she says, look, I cannot even buy groceries. And that is where the ethical question comes in, is you get somebody in the dealership and they tell them all this story, and then you walk out and you find yourself in this position. Now here's the deal. They made their bed, they got to lie in it, right? She's got to lie in her bed. She got herself in the $6,000 in debt. That's fine, but all of this finds its way back to us, because as she defaults on her car, defaults on her credit cards, all of our interest rates go back up. So we're in this weird place to where we all need to just sit still, muscle through your car payments, pay that loan down. And my advice is to pay extra every single month. I always throw extra money at my car loans because I do longer term car loans. So I'm always throwing extra money at the car loans just to make sure that I'm ahead of the power curve and I never get stuck in a position of being upside down. I put enough money down as well. With that said, I'm still upside down on this thing a little bit, but not a lot. But I will unbury that between now and the end of the year, or I'll just sell it and write a check and get myself out of it. But that seems like a horrible, horrible, horrible solution. So with that said, everybody, be careful out there, be smart, and just know it's going to get worse before it gets better. It's going to get really bad for the car dealers because none of you are going to be able to trade your cars in, and it's going to be tough for many of you if you want to get out of your car and get a new car. So just be happy with what you've got. What you've got is good enough, and this is not the time to go out buying new stuff. Wait until prices get back to 2020 level, or interest rates get back down in the 3s and 4s and 5s and even 6s, and then we can start making those decisions. And I promise you, I'll be the first one out there screaming, time to go buy. Please like, subscribe, comment, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.